I don't know how many of you are familiar with the work of the Irish Youth Work Centre over the last 20 years, but you know, for 20 years it's been providing training, supports, resources for the entire sector. Probably it's in the area of publications, and most of you may be familiar with the work of the Irish Youth Work Centre, if at all. The Irish Youth Work Press has published some of the sort of seminal, foundational publications around Irish youth work. Many of you may be familiar with them. This chestnut here, the Models of Youth Work, a sociological framework you may have taken if you've studied youth work, or you may have argued over it in a pub at some point. You'll know Scene magazine, because you're here, and Youth Studies Ireland, a journal, an academic journal, peer-reviewed journal that is published that captures Indigenous research into youth work and youth issues, and more recent work like the purpose and outcomes of youth work. I think the important thing to be saying about all these things is our role here is in supporting and facilitating the sector to come together and do these things. The success, to the extent that we've enjoyed it, has really come about because we brought people together, and it's their energy and their interest and their knowledge that we have helped to put out there. It's not us alone. And that's been the recipe for success in the past, and I think it's the recipe for success in the future. So you'll see in your packs there that all of you have been given a call for contributions. And we very much hope that you take seriously the call and the outreach that we are engaging in to the sector and asking you to put forward your examples, your experience and practice, so that they can add to the evidence of what works, what is valuable in youth work. And that, I should say, you know, obviously we have a very special relationship with Youth Work Ireland members, but I want to be very clear and unequivocal in saying that our offer and our engagement is with the whole sector. So, that said, something else about the direction of the Youth Work Centre, adding to, again, what Patrick was saying, I just want to sort of signpost some things that are coming up. I mean, all of us are aware of the agenda in this sector, you know, the need to meet quality standards, the need to evidence and show the impact of the work that we do with young people, and to showcase and highlight it and let people see it, and also to show that we're working off of a clear evidence base. I mean, you look at, everybody's doing this, everybody is doing logic modeling, everyone is having a look at the literature. You can see things like this theory of change. Everyone's got one of those in their back pocket these days, I'm sure. Maybe not as big, but I mean, you know, we are doing this. We see our role here in this center as really supporting this, in supporting practitioners to evidence their work, showcase their work, and to work off a research base. So some of the things that we're doing, yes, days like this, we're looking to further develop the Irish Youth Studies, make it easier for practitioners, people like yourself, to engage with that, to learn from it, and to submit your own work to become part of the research base around youth work. We are relaunching the website for Youth Work Ireland, and as part of that there'll be a new database that provides new access to the kind of resources you need to do the kind of work that's being asked of you. And we're also doing things like today. And what is today? Well, it's very fitting that today has the theme of reflective practice, because this whole process, these symposia are essentially seen as a form of reflective practice. It's an opportunity for you to take the things that you do without necessarily thinking about it, and take a moment to pause and make explicit the things that are tacit. You know, the things that you do without really being clear, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this. Take the moment, break it down, and be clear about it. So that's what our panel is doing, and that's what the kind of discussions you'll have will offer you an opportunity to do. And it's about formalizing that. It's about saying, right, we've got a piece of learning here. Let's take a moment to reflect on it and to deepen our understanding of it. So it is really reflective practice in action. Now, the thing I have to say about it is, I'm not sure that myself and my colleagues have come up with the winning formula here, that this format for the day absolutely works. All of you are guinea pigs, I'm afraid to say, including the people on the panel, and I'm congratulating them for putting themselves forward to be guinea pigs. But it's something that the whole concept of the day is something I think would benefit greatly from your views and your ideas of how we can improve it. And so you'll see there's a Wi-Fi access code on your handout, and there's also a online evaluation. And we would really welcome you to engage with that. Tell us how you think we can make these days better, make them work better, besides not having weather that's atrocious as this. And also share with us the learning that you would like to, you've taken from today that you would like to pass on to others, because you can put that into a report on the day. So that's what today is. And now I'm going to venture into the territory that I imagined that John would have charted for us, should he have been here, and that is, what is the importance of reflective practice, and why is this a key theme? Well, I'm not an expert on reflective practice, but I can very clearly tell you why we're all here talking about this today, and that is that in developing the work of the center, we have tried to take an evidence-informed approach. Everyone is, right? And be very clear about the rationale of why we do things, and make sure that we're providing services that we can show there's a proven need in this area. So, proven need. And doing work around things that we know works, that we can prove to be effective in addressing the needs and the interests of youth work practitioners. So how do we know that there's a need to explore and develop resources and supports around reflective practice, and how do we know that it works? Well, there's the libraries on this stuff. I mean, there's so much in terms of resources and evidence and research to show that reflective practice is of value to researchers, youth workers in the youth work practice. I couldn't even scratch the surface, but I'm going to point at a few things that I think are quite relevant. One is, we know here in the center that this is of use to you because we've done surveys of our readers, it seems, to ask them what are the key issues that you would like us to cover, what is of use to you and what is of interest to you, and what we heard back was reflective practice. Now, wearing my other hat and working with Youth Work Ireland, engaging with Youth Work Ireland members, this is something that we have heard through consultations with our membership very clearly, and it's become part of the Youth Work Ireland strategic plan. And then talking to practitioners anecdotally in the sector, this is something we hear over and over again. So, yes, there is clear evidence that reflective practice is of interest in developing tools and resources and supports around that. And I think your own presence here today shows it. But how do we know it's work? Actually, no, there's another thing that's worth saying. We also know from policymakers, another area of evidence, what's in policy. We also know from policymakers that it's important. And if John were here today, I'm sure he would be saying something like, and you've heard this all before, that increasingly, here we go again, alluded to this, but that there is demands upon us to evidence the impact of our work, because we're competing against other areas of human services delivery, early childhood education, where there's a huge evidence base to show that that works. So why give money to youth work if we can't prove it works? And the thing about reflective practice is it does offer an opportunity to, as many of the contributors in their own writings have shown and indicated, there's huge research to show that it is a way of surfacing evidence about what works in practice. And how do we know that this works? Well, again, the research that our contributors have pointed to, but there are other things that I think are useful to consider as well. There's a really useful article in Scenes from Cormac Doran, who explains what evidence-based practice is. And in it, he says that evidence is anything that you can explain to somebody else in such terms that they can replicate. So they can take it away and do it in their own setting, in their own practice setting. So if you think about it, what we're doing today and what reflective practice allows for is it allows you to break down your work and explain it in such terms that other people can take it away and replicate it. So it really is clearly about creating evidence. And something else I think is worth considering, as I say, there's truckloads of evidence to show that reflective practice works, and research to show that. But there's another piece that I came across, and that was from the Center for the Use of Research and Evidence in education in the UK, and they were saying that it's very clear that if you want to implement new practices within an organization, if you say, okay, we have identified a new way of working with young people, and we want to adopt this, you will not be successful in doing that unless you make time for reflective practice to take a moment to say, what is it that we're doing now? And what is it that we want to change to? If you don't actually go through that process and take a moment to consider, you're not going to be able to implement proven ways of work. So, very clear that there is value in reflective practice. Now, there's something else about it. I mean, okay, great, it fits with the outcomes agenda that we're all looking at right now, and showing value for money and impact. But I don't know about you, but most people in this room, I think myself, certainly, probably didn't get into youth work, first of all, because you wanted to prove outcomes for young people. It comes out of the values base. It comes out of beliefs of young people's participation in society, empowering them, getting them actively involved in activities and decisions that affect them. And again, reflective practice has value in that. It allows us to think about our values and how they connect to the things that we're being asked to do, things that we are doing, and things that we're not doing. So, right, I mean, that's just a scratch, as we say, the surface of all the reasons that I think that we're here today to talk about reflective practice.